Bioshock is an incredible, immersive game that allows you to rewrite your own DNA to give yourself incredible powers. In Rapture, you need Adam and Plasmids to survive, but what if you only use these plasmids to beat the game? Can you beat Bioshock with only plasmids? So the rules are pretty simple. No weapons are to be used to defeat enemies. Hacking is allowed because any damage dealt would be by the turrets or security bots. I also must defeat every big daddy in the game, though I've yet to decide what the fate of the little sisters will be. We start our journey during the coolest time on Earth, 1960, a time where you can smoke cigarettes on airplanes and no one gives a damn. What's not cool was when the pilot drunkenly crashed into the ocean, but it's hard to judge as I think I was a little drunk myself, causing me briefly to forget how to swim. I swam to the Lighthouse and took a moment to appreciate just how beautiful this game is, as I traveled somewhere deep, under the sea, to the city of Rapture. Johnny here puts in no effort to surviving, and I meet my guide, Atlas. The first minor inconvenience was this piece of debris blocking my path. I figured I'm not using the wrench as a weapon, so I'm not calling this a fail straight away. The first Splicer proved challenging because you can't get Electrobolt until he's dead, but if you throw yourself into the corner, there's a slight chance that he'll forget that fire is hot and follow you. Because fire is indeed hot, you do take a lot of damage, but so does he. After the Splicer finally burnt to death, I grabbed Electrobolt and headed down the hall to face my next challenge, which I cleverly refer to as the second Splicer. Both doors are locked, and the Splicer must be dead for them to open, but there's not enough water on the ground for the old toaster in the tub trip, so I was trapped. I thought this challenge would come to a grinding halt, but then I discovered that this guy actually doesn't have a health bar like the previous enemy, so hitting him wouldn't necessarily mean he'd die. I gave it a go and oh look, he's just sleeping, he's fine. But the game thinks he's dead, so I'm able to move on. The next two enemies are easy. Fire does most of the damage and I can just run past them. Oh look, they both died anyway. Then I use Electrobolt to zap them but not whack them, and most of them just jump into the water anyway, so I can fry the ones I need to kill. I say sayonara to Andrew Ryan and arrive at the Medical Pavilion. Once inside, I need an emergency access key from the insane Dr. Steinman. In the main foyer, I use Electrobolt to hack any turrets I find to keep the splicers off my back. Steinman blocks off my path, so I need telekinesis to get past the blockade. But the way to the dentist is frozen over, so I grab the incinerate plasmid first. Now that I have a plasmid that can actually cause damage, I can't see myself having any further problems. I melted the ice caps way faster than the US, grabbed telekinesis, and then made my way down to the surgical ward. On the way I get my first gene tonic, Static Discharge, which sends out bursts of lightning every time I get hit. I ran past Steinman's bots and the turrets and took on the Mad Doctor myself. He was pretty easy. I hacked the first aid station just for good measure, but he went down almost instantly to incinerate. With the key and a bunch of first aid kits, I headed to the bathysphere, but first, a brief test in ethics. I obviously choose to save the little girl, even though killing her would give me max Adam. With an upgrade in max Eve, I took on a big daddy for the first time. All of my turrets have been destroyed, so I just spammed it with incinerate, but I think the static discharge slowed it down enough to get in the 24 or so incinerates I needed to take it down. With another little girl saved, I said au revoir to the Medical Pavilion and headed for Neptunes Bounty. Neptunes Bounty is where the game difficulty really rises, especially if you have a seafood allergy. Immediately I was greeted by a new type of big daddy, the Rosie. These guys throw grenades, so if you still have telekinesis, chuck them back at them for some extra damage. I meet the dependable and trustworthy Peach Wilkins, who sends us on a task to find a research camera, so we can find out the weakness to the most difficult splicers yet. Don't worry though, he's even giving us a present to help us out. Oh. Finding the camera is easy enough, and with a couple of picks, I can now eat Spider Splicer's organs to regain health. Hooray! Peach gives me a great opportunity to ditch all the weapons I've accidentally picked up, but it turns out he was crazy, so we have a fight. Peach is tough since Incinerate really isn't cutting it anymore, and the security here is crazy hard to avoid. Thankfully, I kill Peach without losing too much health, and reach the smuggler's hideout, where Atlas's family is waiting safely in a bathysphere. Oh, come on! I very angrily say Zhaizhen to Ryan yet again and escape to Arcadia. Arcadia is crawling with enemies, including the new type of splicer, Houdini Splicers, named after world-famous magician David Copperfield. Langford here sent me on a quest to find a rose for her research, and I kept running into these stupid tripwires that I could have moved with telekinesis, but I didn't have that currently equipped. I grabbed the rose, Ryan did some exterminating, and Atlas made a sports metaphor that went way over my head. During my quest for the ingredients for the Lazarus Vector, I bought a couple of plasmid slots. I grabbed the insect swarm ability from the Gatherer's Garden, which is basically Electrobolt, except it does damage in exchange for less stun time. With all the little sisters in this area saved, I headed back to the lab, where I waited out the time it takes to create the formula by holding off swarms of splicers. Atlas gave me a bunch of junk in an attempt to help, and I tried using the hypnotized Big Daddy plasmid, although it backfired on me eventually. With the trees alive again, Atlas tells me that there will be blood. Even though that movie won't come out for another 48 years, I say a la vida to Ryan and make my way to Fort Frolic. Yet again, I'm stopped in my tracks, this time by a madman named Sander Cohen. He tires of the squabbling between Atlas and Ryan and forces me to help complete his masterpiece by taking photos of his former disciples. After I've brutally murdered them, of course. Martin Finnegan was up first, the Iceman cometh and the Iceman wenteth just as fast. Next, I headed over to the Poseidon Plaza to take on Hector Rodriguez, racist name by the way. I almost killed him by catching his explosives and launching them back at him, but I accidentally picked up this party mask from a corpse and finishing him with that instead. Finally, at the record store was Silas Cobb. This hack security bot does most of the work for me, but it ended up being my bees that got the killing blow. With the masterpiece finished, Cohen let me on my merry way. I say Avidase, and I take the bathysphere to Hephaestus to confront Andrew Ryan. Now this is where the game's difficulty really spikes. Ryan has sealed himself in his office, so we're sent off to carry out the only logical action. Build an EMP bomb designed by a mad Australian to overload the core. Of course, it's so obvious! To get to the core, I have to redirect this magma flow. I actually managed this pretty easy thanks to the natural camouflage tonic I picked up as part of my research into Houdini Splicers. I remained invisible for the duration of the time it took these hacked turrets to take care of any splicers that came down. Then, I took the elevator down and a lift back up, placed the bomb on the core and made a mad dash back to the office of Andrew Ryan. Despite having no health, no medkits, no Eve or hypo left, I managed to escape the hordes of splicers and the security bots by the skin of my teeth and entered the Rapture central control. Ryan's got one more trick up his sleeve, however, as he sets the core to self-destruct. Tell me, why is that a thing? Clearly time is not an issue because I get hella lost in the dark for way too long. I try using telekinesis on this vent, but it doesn't work. Remember how I justified that by using the wrench as a tool it's not a fail? Well, same thing here. The words, "would you kindly," are written in blood on the wall. Where have I heard that before? After a long and powerful monologue, I say one final farewell to Andrew Ryan as I race to stop the core from exploding. I place the key into whatever the hell this thing is, and then the big reveal. Atlas was actually thought to be dead criminal mastermind Frank Fontaine. And just as Ryan had warned us, Fontaine betrays me. I get so confused, probably due to the heartbreak, I completely lost the little sister guiding me. I wake up in Tenenbaum's safe house and we devise a plan to free me from the mental conditioning. I ate this little girl's lunch and left the stronghold, heading for Olympus Heights. But of course, Fontaine doesn't take too kindly to that and reduces my max health by 2 stages. Eventually, reaching Fontaine's penthouse, I found lot 192, which has side effects. It randomly changes my plasmids, even to ones I haven't purchased yet. One added benefit to this is that my Eve bar recharges every 30 seconds with the change in plasmids. I take full advantage of this and try a stealthier approach. There are heaps of cameras and turrets in Apollo Square. This one in Suchong's free clinic gave me a lot of trouble. I made sure I had Electrobolt equipped before madly sprinting to grab the second dose of lot 192, finally freeing myself from the mind control and all its side effects. I'm not quite done here, however. I still have a heap of big daddies to kill, as I'm going to need the Atom from the Little Sisters. I didn't want to risk constantly dying looking for the bare minimum supplies around here, so I took a risk and booked it back to medical. The risk paid off here, with there not only being a heap of medkits and even a few Eve hypos here, but significantly weaker enemies. Now with a couple of extra supplies, I took on my first big daddy of this level, but he's still very tough. As an elite Rosie, he has a range advantage, and as a fleshy human, Jack cannot take many shots from his rivet gun. After continuing the not so honourable approach of snapping my fingers 3 or 4 times and running away, often hiding behind poles or hacked turrets, I got an idea. Why make me do all the work? There's a camera around here I haven't hacked yet, so I pop over to the gene bank and equip the security bullseye plasmid. The bot works a treat and kills the Big Daddy for me. Why did it take me so long to figure that out? In the gift, I get Armored Shell 2, and since I can stack 2 of the same gene tonics, this will be very helpful. Point Prometheus time, and thanks to Frankie's new plasmid gun, this door is now locked and I'm forced to become a Big Daddy. After I free another little sister, Tenenbaum gives me another gift, and I get the final upgrades for Incinerate and Insect Swarm. I grab the boots, suit, voice mod, pheromones, and unfortunately, the helmet, which gives me this annoying, kinda blurry vision. With the little sisters now in tow, we moved on to the Proving Grounds. The escort mission. Sometimes it's terrible, and other times... Anyway, I have to guide the child through the Proving Grounds, stopping at various corpses along the way. Hacked turrets and security cameras again do most of the work for me, as well as my army of killer bees. After 3 corpses and the rogue bouncer fight, which I actually forgot was here, we finally make it to the museum's tower, and the final battle against Frank Fontaine. I buy one last health and Eve upgrade, grab some health kits and hypos, and also, I don't know when I did it, but I bought the Enrage plasmid. Just thought I'd mention that. Once I grabbed the needle, I took the elevator up to the highest point in all of Rapture, to face Fontaine. When I first played this game, I thought it was kind of weird that this survival horror game ended in this 3-stage boss fight, but it's not that bad. His first form, Fire, does a bit of damage straight off the bat, but fun fact, Fontaine's biggest weakness is bees apparently. They do a ton of damage when stunning him, but they are burnt when he fires his projectiles. I combine this with his second biggest weakness, exploding gas canisters, to easily pass the first stage. His icy stage weakness is much more obvious. Incinerate is the way to go, and he provides security bots, which I zap to hack and help me out. His shocking final stage, Lightning, is crazy fast, and he now hurdles giant balls of electricity. Several splicers join the fight, but I use the bots to fend off the lead heads and the Enrage plasmid on the nitro splicers to get a few hits on Fontaine. I went a little crazy with the bees considering he's now a walking bug zapper, but before I knew it, the last stage was passed in just under 4 minutes. Fontaine was being stabbed to death by a bunch of 6-year-olds, and I had beaten Bioshock with just plasmids. This was a pretty fun run for the most part. Although Incinerate and Insect Swarm were my main damage dealing, the stealthier and speedier options like Enrage, Security Bullseye, and Electrobolt work just as well. I think by Hephaestus you're supposed to have this even balance between weapons and plasmids. Maybe that's why in the sequel you can wield both of them at the same time right from the start. What I think I liked most about this run, however, is just replaying this game. It's probably my 6th favorite game of all time. I've been playing it for about 10 years now. How else do you think I should play it? Or any other installments in the franchise? Let me know in the comments below. As always, remember to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one. But until then, this has been Beating Bioshock with only plasmids. Have a great day.